How to teach online with Zoom. Hi, I'm Eric from Etiquette, and today I'm going to show you exactly how you can teach online with Zoom. I'm going to give you practical tips, I'm going to show you lesson structure, and I'll also share some activities that you can use with your students in class. I'm going to be talking about Zoom, but I believe this is useful across different platforms. If you don't know how to use Zoom, I've actually made a Udemy course that I'll put in the description below. I want to dedicate this video for Don. He was watching one of my previous videos and he said, Eric, you really didn't get to the practical side, and I totally agreed. So I decided to make this video. I hope it will help a lot of you out there busy with your online teaching. I will also be focusing on teaching English online since I'm an ESL teacher here in South Korea. Okay, let's jump into it. So as you can see, this is Zoom. I'm going to share my PPT with you, Teaching with Zoom by Eric Wesch. Here we have what you will learn in this. Let me put myself over here. I'm going to be teaching you practical online teaching skills. I'm going to show you my lesson structure because structure is very important. As teachers, we know that we need routines in our classrooms for students to get used to, and also to make it easier for ourselves. I'm going to be focusing on a 60-minute class. Most of you know that Zoom has a 40-minute time limit for if you're on the free program, but even with that, I usually restart the class with my students and they know how to do that. I'm also going to be sharing some activities and games that you can use in your class. Okay, yeah, guys, if you have any questions, you can put them down below. If you enjoyed this video, if you find something very useful, please like and subscribe to this channel. The content that I'll be talking about, I'll just move this a little bit for you so you can see well. I'm going to be talking about lesson structure, inviting students for the class, warm-ups that you can do, pickers, the lecture itself, activities, and some extra games. Before you start your class, let me explain that in online teaching, we use a flipped classroom model. What is a flipped classroom model? I know a lot of you don't like this, but that's when you give students homework to prepare before class. For online teaching, this is very important because actually when they come to the class online, because things are slower, you should use your time effectively for practice and instruction. You can give them vocabulary, phrases, things to learn before they get to class. It will be a lot more convenient in class. So a flipped classroom is essential for success in online teaching. Give them all the content that they need before they come to class so that they can use class to practice. What do? I send my students a video. I send them a 5 to 10 minute video showing them the book, going over some of the grammar, some of the vocabulary that's important. I explain some things, and I also give them something that they have to prepare, maybe a photo, or I might send them some questions so that when they come to the class, they are ready to work. I'll focus on some of the grammar, some phrases, important vocabulary, and I give them homework. Exactly like I said, they should know what to prepare. The video shouldn't be too long, just 5 to 10 minutes, quickly explaining, showing them the work. The lesson structure, now my usual lesson structure, you can say it's 20 minutes for a warm-up, 20 minutes for the lecture where you actually explain things in class, and then 20 minutes for a practice activity. But actually you can break it down like this. First, you will check attendance and greet the students. Second is the warm-up where they can practice talking and get ready for the lesson. Then we have a picker. A picker is a fun game that the students can play to get them excited about class. Then we have the lecture. That's where you explain and talk about the content in the book. Practice activity, this is very important. This is where they actually go and practice the work that you've explained in the lecture part of it. And then finally we have feedback. Feedback is important because we check the students' understanding, and we can also help them when they make mistakes, and other students can learn from that too. Let's look at inviting students. This is very important. I actually get all my students on a messenger app. In South Korea, 99% of the students are on Kakao. And I know that when I send them a message within 5 minutes, all those students will read it. And see, that's the problem with only using email or LMS. It means that you never know how long it will take for the students to get it. So when I send them that homework video every week before class starts, or when I tell them that class is starting, I send them a message in a group chat for their classes. And it can be on WhatsApp, Kakao, Line, whatever your students are using. You want to schedule your meeting. I'll quickly show you here. In Zoom, you can go to Zoom, you say schedule, and you can actually schedule your meeting here when it is. You can make it a recurring meeting every week. Don't use your personal ID, just generates automatically. If it's for your students and you know you're only sending it to them, you don't need a password, but if you want the extra protection, that's fine. Video host on, participants on or off, that doesn't matter. You can use Google Calendar, and you've got some advanced options too. A waiting room, what that means is students have to wait until you allow them to join, and you can mute them when they get in case they are loud. Automatically record the meeting, that's up to you, and you can put in the time and recurring meeting and the time zone. I found that my students have no problem signing up and joining. You can also add them on Zoom itself, which makes it easier, but it's all good. 1 hour before class, I send them a reminder. I say, hey guys, remember class starts in an hour. Also remember what you have to prepare. Okay, this is very important so that they know class is starting. I think it's great that students in these times where they can just do what they need to, we have a fixed time for our classes, so they've got some kind of schedule to work around. Once I start the class, they can actually join because it's a recurring meeting, but I also send them the invitation so they click and they are redirected and we can start class. One of the most asked questions I get is, Eric, video on or video off? And I'm going to tell you, video off for large classes and video on for the teacher. Many of you might say, Eric, this is counterintuitive. We need to see our students to see what they're saying, what they're thinking, how they're responding, if they're paying attention. But based on practice, I found that video off gets a much better response from my students. See, if you have large classes, anything more than 10 students, video is distracting. It doesn't make sense looking at so many students at the same time. If you have smaller classes, it's fine. But for larger classes, it's very difficult to focus on all these different students. It's unnecessary. Also, the students are more comfortable. They're more relaxed because they don't have to worry about their appearance. They don't have to worry about people taking pictures of them. So I say that video should be off for the students, but for the teacher, it's great that they can see you. You can build a relationship with them. They can see how you speak, how you make eye contact. So for a teacher, the video should be on so that they can actually see you and focus on you. They don't need to focus on other people. But make sure to train your students to be responsive. I warn my students. I tell them, guys, video can be off, but when I ask you a question, I expect an immediate response. And most of them understand it. When I ask questions in my class, they get back to me quickly. And that's also because I ask a lot of questions in my class, so they've got to pay attention. Let me say it again. For classes, I think it's way better to keep video off. Attendance. So once you send them the invitation, they will start popping into the chat. And I ask them questions once they come in. Hi, how are you doing? How was your week? What did you do last night? What time did you wake up this morning? Did you have lunch? Just ask them questions. Also, if something is wrong, make a note of it and move on. I think sometimes when students have technical problems, teachers focus on that one student. But I think make a note, tell them to fix it, continue with the lesson. You don't have time to waste on students that have problems with their technical side. And number 3, ask them questions. I told you, once they get in there, start asking them questions. Ask them follow-up questions. Why do we do that? 3 reasons. Number 1, you build relationships with them. This is super important. You know, as a teacher, you're supposed to build relationships, work on that rapport. Even when you do it online, it's possible to do it. I mean, it's just a conversation. It shows that you're interested in them. Number 2, you check their audio. You can tell them, please raise your audio, or there's something wrong, fix it for me. Number 3, it prepares them mentally to answer questions. Once they come into the classroom, you're asking them questions and they're starting to understand that, I have to answer the teacher. Also, it puts you in a leadership position. By asking them questions, it shows them that you are the leader in the class and they have to follow you. This is important in a real life class, but it's also useful for online. Warm-ups. This is really fun. Every week I ask my students to prepare something for class. It should be something personal because, you know, they want to share their lives. Learning is social, and especially now that they are separated, you want them to show that their lives are important and they love sharing interesting things about themselves. With older students, I ask them to prepare photos. Just like Instagram, I say, okay, everyone, share a photo from this week and then talk about it. Or the topic for this week is my favorite. So share a photo of your favorite food, your favorite place, your favorite parents, whatever it might be. Hobbies. Let's share something about a trip. For example, last week our topic was the past tense and we had to talk about trips. So I said, okay guys, please bring a photo of a trip that you went on, either in Korea or it could be to another country. They can also share things they do with their friends. This is very important. What I do is I put the students into groups and they have to share their photo and explain it in English, and their partners in the group have to ask them extra follow-up questions. For younger students, they can do something like show and tell. You can tell them, please bring your favorite toy or bring a fruit, talk about it. What is the color? What does it taste like? Why do you like it? You know, another great thing, a game that you can play is scavenger hunt. When the students open up, tell them, okay, everybody find something that's red, and you'll see them run around and grab something. Find something starting with the letter A. I've actually done a video about it. You can see it in the link below. Also, you can send them a list of questions that they have to prepare for class. Not a long list, maybe let's say 3 to 5 questions, and they can ask each other in groups, or you can put them with a partner. How do you do that, by the way? Let me quickly just stop sharing here. So how do you put them into groups? You actually go here and you can choose how many groups. It will show you how many participants, and you can manually put them in there too. You can also move them around while you're doing that. Okay, let's go back to share screen. Very important. Give them the speech. I do this every single week. I give them the speech. What is the speech? Everyone, this classroom is for practicing English. When you are outside, you can use Korean with your friends, with your parents, with everything. But in this classroom, it is your opportunity to practice English. Don't waste your chance. I want you to practice asking questions, using words, explaining yourself in English. Does everybody understand? And this is very important. I do this every week to make them understand how great an opportunity it is for them to practice their language skills. I also tell them not to be shy. In my classroom, I don't tolerate any shy students. They have to actually be talking all the time to improve their English speaking skills. And you know, this is why I don't like only sending videos, because right now many teachers are doing online teaching by sending videos, by sending questionnaires, by asking the students to send assignments back, because that is not actually communication. That is only one way teaching, and that's not very effective. Especially if you tell me you're doing a speaking or conversation class without any speaking or conversation. This is what it's for, is actually communicating with someone. It's something that really bugs me, that teachers think that they can teach just by sending videos and call it a speaking class or conversation class. Let's continue. Next, a picker game. So after they warm up, I ask the students to come back to class. I will give them 1 minute and then I end the breakout rooms. Once they're in the main room, there are too many students to give feedback. So I ask only a few of them to do that, and we choose by playing a game. It's a fun game to get them excited about class. It also helps them to learn the platform. Look, you can send the students a boring video explaining everything you can do in Zoom. They're not going to watch it. Instead, play a fun game for them to figure it out, and they love doing this. For example, when you're first starting class, tell them, please send me a thumbs up. If you've got 12 students, tell them the first 9 people to send me a thumbs up don't have to share with the class. So they go to reactions, they figure it out, and they send a thumbs up. Or it's funny, sometimes someone gives me a thumbs up. I'm like, no, on Zoom. And then they start figuring it out and they get very excited. Another one you can do is send me a message, especially if they're new to the platform. Tell them, okay, the first 9 students to send me their names, they don't have to. And they start sending you their names. Or if you only have a small class, if you have 6 students, you can say, okay, students, give me the order. What number do you want to present in? And they will send you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another one you can do is you open up the whiteboard, and this is really fun. Let me show you. You share screen, you go to whiteboard, you share, and you say, okay, everyone, quickly write your name for me. For example, this is my name. The first 9 students don't have to do it. You can also tell them they have to do it in text. They can do it in different colors. If they are in groups, you can tell them to you can make a circle like this. You say, okay, oh, wait, let me do it like this. You can say, okay, I've got 3 circles. The first 3 teams to write their names in those circles don't have to do it. You can tell them to use stamps. You can tell them to put their names in places. There are so many fun things that you can do. You can even ask them to draw pictures to do that. I also teach them about saving and doing it like that. Okay, so that's really fun. Another fun one you can do is saying yes. I used this one recently. It was so much fun. So I tell my students, guys, so the first 9 students to actually tell me yes don't have to do it, and it's so much fun. You think it's easy, but they're playing with it, they're trying to figure it out, they send me messages, they try and share the screen, and eventually someone will say yes, and you say, oh, this person got it right, and suddenly they're frantically searching because they know it's a platform. And that way they're learning about Zoom. It's super fun, and I suggest that you use it in your class. Okay, let's go back to this share. That's a picker. These pickers are great for getting the students involved in class. First, we started with the warm-up. Now it's the lecture part. This is your actual part where you're going to be teaching. What you can do is you can share a book. Now, usually there should be an online book that you're going to use, or you might use a PPT, some form of or if you have the book, maybe you can just show the book to the screen and you can work through it. But most English teachers should have an online resource to use, whether it be a website or a PowerPoint. I'm going to show you a PowerPoint that I use. This is a PowerPoint of the class, and I can actually go through this. What you want to do is you want to get the students involved. So you can say, okay, well, this is all about expressing how we feel. Jimmy, Sarah, quickly read. Can you read this for me? Can you read this for me? Can you read this? And then you can actually see the students. You'll see up here where my face is, you'll see a list of the students, and you go through it and you ask the students to actually read this for you. You can ask them questions. You can say, oh, okay, silly. It's a nicer way of saying stupid. And we're going to be talking about boring versus bored, and you can explain that to them. Then you can let them read this. You can explain it. I will ask them, for example, oh, this job is frustrating. What is frustrating in Korean? You know, and they will guess and they will say it. And that way, some of the students that might not have known will know now. Yeah, you just go through the vocabulary, make sure they read it. And then you've got some listening games sometimes you can do. and you play it and you ask the students what they think. What is the answer? You go through these activities with them. And what I also like doing is going through the grammar. I let them read it, I explain it to them, and they also had to do this for homework. So it's very important, and I think they like this too, because I go through the homework I gave them and they have to read it. That way they feel that, you know, the books they bought are actually really good. So that's the lecture. Remember, ask questions, let the students read, and practice to check their understanding. So at the end, you want to ask them questions and make sure they all understand. After you've done your lecture part, you can actually ask the students to do some practice activity. So for example, in this one, there's some dialogue here, and I will ask the students, I want you to use this dialogue to create your own story with a partner. So I will say, with a partner, you can look at this dialogue, but I want you to put in some new vocabulary, and you can change it a little bit to suit you. And here are some examples of what you can substitute in there. You're going to put them into activities. This is the third and final part. You can put them with a partner, you can put them in groups. It should be some kind of conversation that they're having, because remember, this is to practice their speaking skills, so they have to. You can do some problem-based learning where you give them a problem and you say they have to solve it. You can give them scenarios they can substitute in the book. And what you want to do is you want to check in with the students while they're doing it. So what I choose to do, so you'll see that if you open up breakout rooms, you'll see a list of all the rooms that you can leave and join. What I do is I stop my video, and then I go to each room and I sit there and I can give them some guidance, and I can ask them extra questions. They can practice with me, and then I'll go to the next room, the next room, the next room, and right before we finish, I will send them a message saying 1 minute left, and then I go and I close the breakout rooms, and they come back. They do the activity, they practice, now they come back to the main area, and each group has to give feedback. I ask each group to do a conversation that they've practiced. If there are too many students, you can pick some groups to give feedback. Also remember to correct them and to help them. See, learning is social. By actually having these online classes, they are learning from each other. And that's the problem that I have with only sending videos to students and only getting assignments from one student, is when they make a mistake, the other students don't see, so they can't learn from it. But if students make a mistake with their grammar or with their pronunciation, I can help them, and the other students actually learn from that too, and that's very important. Then at the end of class, review what they've learned. You can say, okay everyone, today we learned about bored versus boring. It's very important for you to learn this. Remember that, and that's to show them that it's important, and they can actually think, oh yeah, we learned that today. Okay, very important to review what they've learned. Then say thank you for their time. Say, guys, thank you so much, I appreciate it. I know that you could be out and it's really difficult doing this online thing, but I appreciate it that you come to this classroom and that you're working hard, because I can see your improvement. And you say goodbye. Bye-bye, everyone. Oh, and at the end, once class is finished, a minute after that, I send them another message in the messenger saying, thank you, everyone, for coming to class. I appreciate it. You know, because honestly, I like my students to think that I value their time and their commitment to the course. Let's look at some games. Actually, I've been making quite a few videos on games that you can use. You can use riddles, for example. I've got a video on riddles that you can use, and templates. I'll put it down below. 60 riddles. You can give them 5 and tell them in groups to figure it out. Scavenger hunt, I talked about before. Ask them to look for things in their rooms. PowerPoint bomb games, you can do this. You put them into groups and you actually share a PPT game with them. I did another video about that. You can look at that. Explain the word, I did another video on that. You give them a list of words and they have to explain that to a partner. It's very good for them to explain things in English. And then the great thing is that students can actually put off their videos and they can send you messages. So you can play something like Mafia, where you send a message to someone and say, okay, you're the mafia, you can kill someone and then everybody wakes up and they have to pick someone who it was. So you can actually do Mafia with them very simply. And I'm also going to do a video on One Night Werewolf. It's actually one of the best games that I've ever played with my students. It takes them some time for them to get used to it, but I'll make another video about that in the future. This is almost at the end of the presentation, so I just want to remind you that online teaching is real and it's here to stay. Look, we're going to go back to classes, real life classes will restart, but online teaching will now for always be a part of our lives in some way or form, because we can see that it works if done right. And remember, this is a very new thing for all teachers. We are the first generation to actually get into online teaching. So we have to share our ideas with each other. And that's why I'm making this presentation, to share some of my ideas and to talk about it. And if you've made it up to here, I want to say thank you to you, because it shows that you are dedicated and you made it almost until the end. Yeah, so I appreciate it. Yeah, we have to share our ideas with our colleagues. That is the best way to form a foundation for online teaching. If you've got any problems, put them in the comments below. I want to know what problems you're experiencing with your online teaching. Also, if you have some techniques that I haven't thought of, please put them in the comments below. I really want to learn. Listen, I'm just one random teacher sharing ideas, but I know there are so many qualified teachers out there with fantastic ideas that I just want to steal. I've got a Zoom playlist that you can check out. It's all about online teaching and using Zoom. I've also got a course on Udemy for if you're new to Zoom and you want to learn how to use it. You can check that out down below. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I'm Eric, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.